Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and we have a lot to discuss this morning. Local, state, national. Why don't we get right to it with viewer comments? This came in after yesterday's broadcast. I agree with you, Frank. Full stop makes me cringe. Yes, it's something that I don't know where it started, but you know it had already run its course when politicians started saying it and started saying it a lot. They'd put it at the end of a statement, full stop. It was almost of saying like period exclamation mark. I don't know why people at this point think it's clever. It was already, I'm sure, not clever by the time politicians got a hold of it. But now it's been couple of years, boy, I'd say probably 5 years of full stop. I think I started noticing it on social media. I know we're spending too much time on this, but started seeing it on social media, I want to say during COVID. Full stop. Listen to my point, full stop. Anyway, thank you. I'll stop saying it because we're on the same page. Mark writes in and says, good morning. Good morning, Mark. Well, people are already having trouble at Watkins Glen International getting their campers in. They're using tractors to get them unstuck. And I saw a clip with Nick Langworthy. He is not happy with the $75 million being withheld for road improvements due to Hochul's illegally handling of CDL licenses to illegals. Yes, we talked about that. I know he's given some interviews on it recently, but he had a press release we brought up quite some time ago about that. It's costing us because of illegally handling out these CDLs. Remember, it was New York State where that CDL license came from that said the literal name on it was no name given. That's the kind of tight ship we run in New York State. Because of that, the Trump administration has withheld $75 million for road improvements, and that's because of, I guess you could say, Hochul's stubbornness in wanting to hand out CDL licenses to illegals. I'm with you, Mark. And by the way, the Watkins Glen International, I saw some of those pictures. It's upstate New York in May. But one thing I want to clarify, because I've seen this on social media, and it kind of threw me for a loop. People are blaming Watkins Glen International, blaming Don Berlew for the move. That's not accurate whatsoever. So if you're one of the people on social media blaming her or blaming Watkins Glen International, that makes no sense whatsoever. It was a decision by NASCAR, just as last year's move for Labor Day. They bounced them around. So I'm just shocked that people have bought into that concept, because does anyone think that someone who is from this area would pick Mother's Day weekend, or any time in May for that matter, to have the race at Watkins? It went above Watkins Glen's decision. Trust me, it was not theirs whatsoever. So don't fall into that trap and share those social media posts, because it was a NASCAR decision, not Watkins Glen. Okay. The U.S. military fired and disabled an Iranian-flagged tanker that tried to break the naval blockade around the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday. The MT Hasna was intercepted by American forces at around 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with a fighter jet firing its autocannon at the ship when it attempted to sail towards an Iranian port in the Gulf of Oman, said the U.S. Central Command. Quote, after Hassan's crew failed to comply with repeated warnings, U.S. forces disabled the tanker's rudder by firing several rounds from the 20-millimeter cannon gun of a U.S. Navy FA-18 Super Hornet launched from USS Abraham Lincoln. So that happened later yesterday, and I wanted to pass that along to you. Also, breaking early this morning, or I guess you could say late yesterday, but the reports are finally coming out. A U.S. judge ruled that the Justice Department can keep 2020 election ballots seized during an FBI search in January, which is a win for President Trump's administration as it pursues the president's false claims of widespread voter fraud. This coming from Reuters, the false claim aspect to it. Atlanta-based U.S. District Judge J.P. Bully rejected Fulton County's request for the return of the original copies of the seized materials. Lawyers for the county had argued that the FBI's search of the county's election hub relied on faulty and discredited evidence and violated protections against the U.S. Constitution. Bully determined there were flaws in an FBI affidavit used to secure a judge's permission for the search, but concluded that those shortcomings did not amount to callous disregard for the county's rights, the legal standard required to have the records returned. Quote, while the affidavit was certainly far from perfect, this is not a situation where an officer left out all the facts that might undermine probable cause or where an officer intentionally lied, said the judge in a 68-page ruling. So that is a quick update. All right, I've got to get your opinion on this, and we'll probably be bringing this up throughout the morning. NVIDIA, the chip maker at the center of the artificial intelligence boom, is partnering with none other than glassmaker Corning Incorporated for 3 new advanced manufacturing facilities where? Do you have a guess? In North Carolina and in Texas, dedicated entirely to optical technologies for the world's most valuable semiconductor company. The factories will lead to the creation of at least 3,000 jobs, is coming from CNBC, and increase Corning U.S. optical manufacturing capacity by tenfold. The financial terms weren't disclosed. Corning shares climbed 12% on the news. NVIDIA stock gained almost 6%. The deal gives NVIDIA the right to invest up to, get this, $3.2 billion in Corning. NVIDIA is getting warrants to buy up to 15 million Corning shares at an exercise price, is that what that's called, of $180 per share, above Tuesday's closing price of $162.10, but below the price after the pop. The remaining $500 million comes from a pre-funded warrant for NVIDIA to buy up to 3 million shares of Corning. So there you are. we've talked about this in the past because this is the second big announcement that Corning, investment in Corning, and you've got to look at people like Governor Hochul and the disastrous decisions coming out of Albany, where the decision was made not to have these plants local here in Corning, New York, or even in the surrounding area, but in North Carolina and Texas. Of course, that raises concerns for many residents who have in the past questioned the longevity of the headquarters being here. But Corning is hosting an investor day at the New York Stock Exchange, or I guess they did yesterday, a day before celebrating its 175th anniversary by ringing the closing bell. So again, NVIDIA to invest up to $3.2 billion in Corning Inc. as part of the massive optical fiber deal with 3 new factories focused on AI. Those 3 factories in North Carolina and Texas. Your thoughts on that, and we'll be bringing that up throughout the morning. All right, this is a story that we have, and we're going to be moving fast this morning. This is a story that we have on a semi-regular basis for you, and it's coming from Study Finds. Politics is destroying American friendships. And guess what? It's only getting worse. According to the survey, more than a third of Americans, 37%, report having lost at least one relationship due to political differences, including friendships, family ties, co-worker relationships, romantic partners, with most losing even more than one. Now, this is, I think, an important side note to this study. Democrats were more likely than Republicans to report a political breakup. And among those who had one, 66% of Democrats said they were the ones who ended it, compared to 27% of Republicans. I would say anecdotally, from what I've experienced, I would say that would be the case. So again, Democrats more likely to write off a friendship, a romantic partner, co-worker relationship. Because of political issues, Democrats more likely to give up on the Republican quote-unquote friends. And they were the ones that did the cutting off of the friendship. That they were the ones that wrote off the friendship by a 66% margin. 66% of Democrats said they were the ones who ended it. Political breakups have surged since 2016 and may be accelerating. The 2024 election produced a higher breakup rate than the 2016 election in roughly half the time, though researchers caution the evidence is limited. People who experienced political breakups held more hostile and distorted views of the other side, rating opposing voters nearly 8 points colder on a 100-point scale and significantly overestimating how extreme opponents' beliefs actually are. And I would say that is what I've seen. The idea that they paint, especially the Democrat Party paints Republicans, because again, you've got to look at how the media has portrayed Republicans. They paint them as evil, as the enemy, so that you must be in 100% not only lockstep with what they think are the extreme views of the Republican Party, but you may even go further. That's in their mindset, so that's why they have no qualms about ending. 66% of Democrats have no qualms about ending that friendship with, or romantic partnership, or family ties because of politics. Wow. It's a disturbing trend, but one that is only growing. So politics is destroying American friendships. Now, again, we can say anecdotally, have you experienced that? Which direction has it headed? I would say, personally, I've never ended a friendship or any kind of relationship over politics. I can say the other side of the coin. I could probably point to a few where that's not the case directed towards me in that exact point that piece was making, painting the person out to be something that they're not. So that's just interesting. I know we've had that before, and it's probably something we'll have again, but definitely, in my opinion, worth mentioning. All right, I know we hit you with a lot right out of the gate. We have quite a few New York State updates that we're going to be getting to. The budget was looking as if it was heading in the right direction and then stopped. We'll talk about that. We also want to remind you that Chris Malpas of the Malpas Brothers will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour to talk about their brand new gospel album. We will be talking with his brother, Tyler, next week. And we have a busy lineup these next few weeks, so you'll have to join us every weekday morning. You should anyway. But tomorrow, I want to highlight, and please get your questions in ahead of time. We're going to be talking with Joseph Hernandez, who's running for New York State Comptroller on the Republican ticket. We're going to talk about what that means, why he decided to run. So that will be in the 6 o'clock, right at the end of the 6 o'clock hour tomorrow. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with former congressman, current assemblyman, current chair of the Steuben County Republican Committee, and fan favorite, to frankly speaking, Joe Sempolinski. So that will be tomorrow. But this morning, we've already started and proven ourselves here on Frankly Speaking to have an exciting broadcast in store. We got a couple oddball ones when we return. Then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Every journey is a shared experience. On the road, every decision has an impact, especially the decision to speed. Every mile per hour matters. Your speed affects more than just you. Ride and drive, as if everyone's life depends on it. Together, riders and drivers can save lives.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We are looking at some sunshine for today. Temperatures staying near 10 degrees below average with a high of 57. Then cool tonight, mid-30s. In fact, patches of frost are a possibility. For our Friday, areas of showers with topping off in upper 50s. By the weekend, additional rain chances, especially looking into Mother's Day, at which time highs will be in the upper 60s.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Okay, this, talk about extreme. PETA, you know, the kind of the radical, I guess, if the media controls the narrative, animal rights organization. Well, enraged PETA activists encased their feet in cement. You got to give them dedication. At PepsiCo's New York headquarters because of alleged abuse of bulls in its sugar supply chain. PETA activists clad in bull horns, I'm assuming faux bull horns, not real ones, blocked the entrance to the PepsiCo headquarters on Wednesday during the multinational food and beverage corporation's virtual annual shareholders meeting. Well, they did it for the most attention. Video from the scene captured the chanting protesters spilling fake blood on the roadway with their shoes stuck in cement blocks as cars honked and cops demand that they get out of the way, that they scurry. Well, how are you going to scurry when your feet are encased in cement blocks? Pepsi profits, bulls pay the price, the activists screamed as officers swooped in and began cuffing them, at times removing their costume bullhorns. Firefighters later arrived to drill and break the cement blocks from the protesters' feet. Some of them were seen being taken to ambulances on stretchers after the ordeal. One officer was heard accusing the protesters of trying to stage a photo op while warning them to stop the protest. 6 protesters were ultimately arrested and charged with criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, and criminal tampering. Wow. The spectacle was staged to urge PepsiCo to stop sourcing sugar from partners and suppliers in India, where PETA claims that bulls are beaten, whipped, and forced to haul illegally overloaded sugarcane carts in extreme heat. All right, well, I guess the anti-Semitic protesters in New York City are going to have to up their game and start encasing their feet in cement blocks. We actually have a couple updates on that if we have the opportunity. Oh, a quick update on the Muslims only event that we brought to you earlier this week at that Texas water park. A Muslim only event at taxpayer-funded Texas water park has been canceled following the criticisms and the threat that was made by Governor Greg Abbott to pull public safety grants. A local Islamic group had rented out the Epic Waters indoor water park in Grand Prairie for its annual Dallas-Fort Worth Epic Eid celebration on June 1st. The water park said, after further review and in the best interest of the city of Grand Prairie, the June 1st EID event at Epic Waters Indoor Water Park has been canceled. A flyer for the event originally stated that the gathering was a Muslim-only event and required a modest dress code. Later, after the backlash and really questions of legality of it being a Muslims-only event, they changed it Muslims-only to modest dress only and changed from Muslims only to all are welcome. Well, amid the backlash, the organizer of the event, Amina Knight, said the event was about creating a space where individuals and families, particularly those who value modest dress and modest environment, can come together and enjoy a recreational setting comfortably. In response to the feedback, we have updated our material to clearly reflect that it's modest dress only event, centered around a respectful and family-friendly environment. Now, we talked about it at the time, but the water park was funded originally by a 0.25% sales tax that was approved by the voters. Where was it? Governor Greg Abbott blasted the event, calling the initial Muslims-only policy unconstitutional and religious discrimination. He said, "I signed HB 4211 into law banning Muslim-only no-go zones in Texas. The city must cancel the event and commit to never allowing something like this again by May 11th, or lose $530,000 in state grants. Let this be a lesson to local officials. Facilities funded by all taxpayers are not just for a subset of Texans." So there is your update on that. Oh, did you see Obama met with Colbert? Is Colbert's, the end of his show, not the longest drawn out, contrite event perhaps in history? Obama visited with Stephen Colbert, suggesting that the liberal comedian, and I use that term comedian very loosely, would be a better president than Donald J. Trump. Quote, "We're going to have to do some work to return this to basic norm, and we probably now have to codify it. The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around prosecuting whoever the president wants." Obama said the president shouldn't politicize our military, again without naming Trump directly. He added, "A good policy that I'd like to see followed is that the president of the United States shouldn't have a bunch of side hustles that there's companies and foreign entities can invest in." Colbert joked, "How much of that is just jealous that you didn't think of selling a sneaker? Because your sneakers would have flown. You know that, right? You would have banked coin." This is what passes as comedy. Colbert also noted his late night show is set to end in May. He has said people have told him to run for president. "For the record, I think it's a stupid idea. How dumb do you think it is for people to say that I should run for president?" Obama said the bar has changed. "I think that you could perform significantly better than some of the folks we've seen." Okay. So he asked if that was an endorsement. But Colbert also spoke with Obama about the direction of the Democrat Party, specifically the ongoing rift between the liberal and progressive wings of the party. So you have great leaders. You have people like Abigail Spanberger and Mike Sherrill, very centrist. Excuse me? That goes to show you the Democrat Party if Abigail Spanberger is considered a centrist, folks. But then you have further left, like AOC and Zohran Mamdani. Obama then shrugged off concerns that there was a true divide between both wings of the party. Quote, I'm not so worried about this so-called rift between the left and liberals as you described it, because I think within the Democrat Party, and I would argue a bunch of independents and even some Republicans as well, there's an overarching belief in equality, fairness. If you work with them, you should be able to make a living wage and support a family and retire with dignity. There are a bunch of things that we agree on, and it's really more of a question of what are the specific things that we have to do. All right, enough on that. Way too much time spent on that. Okay, when we come back, we have some really important news, and I want to get your opinion on. Yes, well, so here's, I know the reason that PETA was protesting, they're wondering why bulls. Their argument, as they encased their feet in cement, that must have been not only very difficult, it can't be good for your, I mean, think about circulation. Things. Anyway, we don't have to get into all that. Their theory was that because they source some of their sugar from India, that these sugar producers in India are using bulls to transport what they're saying is weight capacity for sugar, and they're whipping them and things like that. I know, seems like a stretch. It seems like out of all things in the world, but that's what PETA decided to focus on. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
We asked a few motorcycle friends, why do you ride?
You can just shout out to the world and nobody can hear you.
I love going out for miles and miles, hours and hours by myself.
It's a thrill that you are constantly chasing.
It's a way to get free.
I love the twisty roads.
It's not about the destination, it's about the ride, right?
Folks that ride should know. At William Attar, we understand you. And if you're ever injured on a motorcycle, we're ready to help. Call 444-4444.
Digio is the fastest growing form of advertising today. And with hyper-targeting, your marketing dollars can be more efficient than ever. Join WYDC and New Logic Marketing for a digital video strategy seminar May 19th and 20th with sessions from 8 to 9 a.m. and 12 to 1 p.m. at the Radisson in Corning. You'll learn what drives results and how to make video a powerful part of your overall marketing strategy. Join us May 19th for an expert look at digital video and learn what works from experts who understand why.
This Mother's Day, give the gift everyone deserves. Better sleep. Visit Raymore and Flanagan Sleep Center to save big with up to $1,500 off Purple, up to $600 off Beauty Rest Black, up to $500 off Tempur-Pedic, and up to $2,000 off Heirloom. Plus, combine select mattress sale pricing with special financing for 72 months. And enjoy free next day mattress delivery on purchases of $500 or more. For mom, for you, for the best rest of your lives. Discover the difference.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Again, I ask your opinion. NVIDIA investing $3.2 billion in Corning Incorporated. 3 new factories. Those factories will be located in North Carolina and Texas. Why would that be? Why not here in Corning, New York? All right, comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. It appears that Obama has hit rock bottom and now has to go on late night TV to feel relevant. That's a fair point. Ken writes in, I know I have a one-track mind, but typically when foolish changes are made, they don't make sense, like the Watkins race scheduled for May. It has something to do with money. And as we all know, money makes the world go round. NASCAR will soon realize that there will be a huge unexpected cost that I hope Watkins makes them pay. Site restoration. That's a good point, Ken. Yeah, it's what a mess, no pun intended, in what has happened. And again, I just want to reiterate the point, and you're right, Ken. Money makes the world go round. It'll be interesting to see what NASCAR, what do you think? I'm not saying it's not very popular. It's very popular, but it reached a peak, probably 10 years ago, and it's seen a little bit of a decline, not huge. significant though. And I don't understand the reasoning of taking one of their most successful events in Watkins Glen and moving it to originally Labor Day and then moving it to now Mother's Day in May. Now you can say, okay, Labor Day, not great for people's schedules, but at least the weather should be okay. May just sounds like people that have never visited upstate New York. Now, I know I've heard from a lot of people are talking about it on the streets, not just people getting stuck in mud. They're talking about, well, is this, what if they see 2 years in a row with decreased numbers? Is that going to be NASCAR's excuse to get rid of a road course? I hope that is not the case. I don't believe that to be the case, but I understand why people are concerned about that. Because I don't understand the reasoning, but I want to highlight the point, and I can't stress it enough. It is a NASCAR decision. So when I'm on Facebook and I see all these people mad at Watkins Glen International, or I see them mad at our good friend Don Verlew, that's wrong-headed. The onus is completely on NASCAR and what the decision they made. So we hope when the schedule comes out, and I'm not sure what time of year that comes out, that we'll be back to at least summer race. Time will tell. We'll see how this goes, because I saw the pictures along with you. And to your point, Ken, that is going to be a mess. It already is a mess, but that's just getting in. Now we have to wait and see on the way out. Now, many people have said that they're waiting. They've already scheduled Monday off because it could be a Monday race if it rains on Sunday. Whole bunch of moving pieces. Okay. Oh, we do have an update. Do I want to go with there? Yeah, okay. Before I talk about it, if you haven't heard this story about Pramil Jayapal, representative from Washington, Democrat, I'll bring that to you in just a moment. But first, Marco Rubio, who's been a star lately and for quite a while, is going to meet with Pope Leo after those weeks of tension between the Pope and President Trump. Rubio's visit follows President Trump's extraordinary criticism of the first American Pope. Okay. This is coming from CNN, so take it with a grain of salt. Leo has also continued to speak for the interests of refugees and migrants in sharp contrast to the Trump administration. Rubio's plane touched down in Rome Thursday morning, also the eve of Leo's first anniversary as Pope. Ahead of the departure, the top U.S. diplomat dismissed the notion that the meeting with Pope Leo is an attempt to reset diplomatic relations with the Vatican, which the U.S. has relied on as a humanitarian partner for years. He did acknowledge, however, that there's a lot of talk about the Vatican, including Cuba. Quote, this trip is really not tied to anything other than the fact that it would be normal for us to engage with them. Okay, so I bring this up, and I know that we had this conversation extensively yesterday, but Miranda Devine did a great job, and I love to hear your opinion on it. She says that Marco Rubio is a rock star in the Trump administration and making himself a serious candidate for president in 2028. From DJing a wedding on the weekend to manning the White House press podium like a boss, from velvet glove diplomacy in Europe to juggling the roles of Secretary of State and NSA director in the middle of war, Marco Rubio is the administration's secret charm bomb. President Trump rolls him out whenever he has a problem to solve, whether it's filling in as a national archivist, blowing cartel drug boats out of the water, doging USAID to death, or sitting as vice chair of the Saving College Sports Council. Rubio is Trump's Mr. Fix-It. His Tuesday stint filling in for Carolyn Leavitt became a viral sensation on several fronts. His casual use of rap and hip-hop lyrics earned him his cool dad credits with the press pool. When a reporter asked him for his DJ name because of that video making the rounds, he dryly replied, "You're not ready for my DJ name." He was at turns charming, self-deprecating, good-humored, and eloquent, smoothly answering every question with useful information, effortlessly switching to Spanish if asked, and eliciting laughter from the room with occasional wisecracks. Again, and I know we had a viewer send it in yesterday as well, it does make me concerned when not Miranda Devine, she's great, but when the media in that room were laughing at his jokes and kind of giddy over his appearance there, that makes me concerned. And it's not a knock at Marco Rubio. It's just being jaded and pessimistic after all these years. But I'll continue, because remember, the media never wants to see a Republican win again, ever. Anyway, joking about his difficulty identifying reporters to call on, he said, "They gave me a little map. I don't know where I put it of the people here. Some of you had like red X's." I'm kidding, that's not true. He definitely framed the administration's priorities in Iran as America's favor to the rest of the world, both in eliminating the nuclear threat and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. He projected calm and competence when he said Operation Epic Fury was finished and Operation Economic Epic Fury is wreaking havoc on Iran. He explained why Americans should care about opening the strait when we don't need the oil that transits it. Quote, because ultimately these things have an impact on the global economy, which ultimately has an impact on our economy in the long term. That's number one. Number two, because if we live in a world where a rogue state like this Iranian regime is allowed to claim as a new normal control of our international shipping lane, it will not be long before you see that happen in multiple shipping lanes around the world. They would do exactly to the world with a nuclear weapon what they're doing now to the straits. If they had a nuclear weapon, they'd close the straits and they'd tell the world, what are you going to do about it? You have a nuclear weapon, we can attack you with it. Asked about his hopes for America, he delivered a mini stump speech saying it's the same as it's always been. I think it's the hope we all share. We want to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, the color of your skin, or your ethnicity. Rubio's 50 minutes at the podium was a tour de force. And of course, the 2028 buzz began immediately. The Wall Street Journal saying Rubio's stint in the White House briefing room sparks 2028 presidential candidate chatter. The Hill said Marco Rubio gets presidential tryout and White House press briefing. Barron said Rubio rising, duel with Vance for 2028 heats up. CNBC said Marco Rubio heads to the Vatican as 2028 presidential buzz ramps up. It's the same old game the Democrats and their media allies have been trying out for months to drive that wedge between Rubio and Vance. And that is one of the things, and I think Ken mentioned it, but others have mentioned it as well, that is a way to kind of sow quote-unquote chaos behind the scenes. And that could be one of the reasons, because I'm not knocking Rubio at all when I say that the media is kind of in love with him right now. It just concerns me. But I think Miranda Devine and so many viewers have made such a good point that they're more in love with him so that they can downplay Vance and create that rift between the two. And the president makes a bit of the mischief himself, admits Devine, boasting that Rubio and J.D. Vance are the unstoppable dream team ticket for 2028, often without saying who would come first. He likes to play the apprentice game at his dinner table when he asks visitors sometimes in front of both men, who do you like better as president, J.D. or Marco? But both are aware of the allure to the media of pitting them against each other. They are genuine friends who share the same raucous sense of humor and a devout Catholic faith. Vance as a convert and Rubio as a cradle Catholic who flirted briefly with evangelical Protestantism. Former Marine Vance's persona as the anti-war isolationist is at odds with Rubio's more hawkish attitude, but they share more in common on that front than it would seem. Neither have urged Trump to launch attacks on Iran, yet both maintained a united front with the president throughout the ups and downs of the conflict. Vance said in an interview in October that Rubio is his best friend in the administration. I never want to wake up, and so far I've never woken up and thought to myself, how do I make myself president of the United States? What I wake up and think to myself is, how do I do a good job as vice president? And I think Marco Rubio asks himself, how do I do a good job as Secretary of State? And that should be the question that each of us keeps asking ourselves, said JD at the time. Rubio, in the past, has explicitly ruled out challenging his friends. If J.D. Vance runs for president, he's going to be our nominee, and I'll be one of the first people to support him. There are rumors that with his fourth child on the way, Vance has been telling confidants he's not sure he will run, or that 2028 will be a tough race for Republicans and he might wait until 2032, or he's worried about being cast in the same impotent role in the campaign as Kamala Harris to Joe Biden. Some say that Rubio should get first go because he's 13 years older, but polls consistently show that if Vance wants it and Trump endorses him, it's game over for Rubio and any other contenders such as DeSantis or Cruz. For Republicans, any future potential rivalry between Vance and Rubio is a good problem to have. Unlike the sorry lineup of 2028 hopefuls on the other side, Republicans have an embarrassment of riches in their leadership class. I thought that was great by Miranda Devine, kind of encompassing everything that we've been discussing about the Rubio-Vance situation. We got a lot to talk about. Stay with us. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and we will be right back after this.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
If you want an experience that wakes you up, a place where you can scream to your heart's delight, go ahead. No one will hear you anyway. Here, you don't just watch. You feel. Come as you are and have a damn good time. That rumble you hear, that growl you feel, that's us.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Glass Fest the Park, presented by Simmons Rockwell. Friday, May 22nd, it's award-winning country music powerhouse Drake White with soulful country entertainer John King opening. Friday, May 22nd in Riverfront Centennial Park in Corning. Free and open to the public. Brought to you by Simmons Rockwell.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We are looking at some sunshine for today. Temperatures staying near 10 degrees below average with a high of 57. Then cool tonight, mid-30s. In fact, patches of frost are a possibility. For our Friday, areas of showers with topping off in upper 50s. By the weekend, additional rain chances, especially looking into Mother's Day, at which time highs will be in the upper 60s.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A lot of people on the streets. Look at our wave count already, 13. Lucky number 13. All right, let's go to some viewer comments. Well, okay, gonna edit this one. NASCAR doesn't give a darn about fans. They care about national sponsorship and TV money. They're not going to do a darn thing for Watkins Glen. My thought is they moved it to me because eventually it's going to be taken away from Watkins. Everyone told them last year when they scheduled it was a bad idea. Yes, Watkins had nothing to do with the date. NASCAR has been slowly killing itself for the last 10 years. This will be another nail in the coffin. I heard of several people giving up, trying to get their campsites and forcing them to refund their money. Not to mention, I think they lose 30,000 fans just because of the date. Oh, easy, I bet. I mean, not just to mention it's May in upstate New York. It's Mother's Day, for heaven's sakes. There's a lot of tough rows to hoe there, isn't there? All right. Comment from a different viewer. The 5 teenagers in Binghamton that are charged with murder, their parents should be charged and jailed also. The Michigan school shooter's parents were held accountable, and they should too. Thank you very much. We're going to keep going here. My goodness. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Weather in upstate New York obviously is unpredictable. I'm sure the lost revenue will hurt Schuyler County, and I'm with Ken. I thought about the repair costs alone because there will be no doubt a loss in at least day ticket sales. Who wants to go in the rain? Season ticket holders will probably attempt to, but it's just too bad. It'll be just too bad that so-called think tank decision makers don't consider this unless it's a way of pulling out all together at some point and blame it on low sales. That's what people are concerned about. That these think tank people, these people, probably some boardroom meeting at NASCAR, didn't consider the weather or didn't care, and that's what people are concerned about. Is it a way of pulling out all together at some point and blame it on low sales? Because if you think about this, 2 years in a row where they'll say, well, look, Watkins just isn't performing, not mentioning what dates they gave them. But we all know it's all about the Benjamins, baby. Thank you very much, viewer. Ken writes in, I wonder if with all the mud and angst at Watkins, will the fans be bringing back the bog? Remember the burning of the bus? It was quite a sight. Yeah, making, what was it, the most dangerous sporting events in the country. I think it made number one back during the highlight of the bog days when they burnt down that Greyhound bus. It was in Sports Illustrated and elsewhere, making national news. Sounds like that was some wild times, Ken. I don't know if it was fun times, chaos. I don't know what you'd describe it. But the bog, and I think it's interesting that they haven't embraced the days of the bog, because that would be very difficult to do. But I do like that they call that one section, or that one, it might be VIP area, the bog, at least as a kind of a hat tip to their past more raucous days during the Grand Prix. Comment from a different viewer. Morning. Well, hey, morning. My guess is that Marco is being pushed instead of JD because they are afraid of JD continuing unabated President Trump's MAGA movement, whereas Marco might not. That's a fair question, or a fair point. I like Marco Rubio a lot. I'm not going to deny. I think he's doing a fantastic job in the Trump administration. I think we were all a little hesitant at first because of their past history. And also, Rubio had, well, this sounds like such condemnation, but he had a more moderate tone sometimes when he was in the Senate. I don't think that's the right term to use. I just know that he was... he wasn't maybe necessarily a Trump fan at first. We'll put it that way. This is not to knock him, because I think we can all agree, whether you look at his past record or not, or whatever you think about him politically, he has been doing a fantastic job for the Trump administration. I like him. I think he'd make a great president. I think the pecking order, though, should go that it's J.D. Vance with Rubio underneath the ticket. I do think that should be just out of perception. I think that should be the case. But it does concern me. And again, I think he's doing a great job on one hand. The other hand, I've got to say, when the media starts praising him, I want to believe they're praising him, not because they actually like him. They want to drive that rift between him and Vance. That is my theory, and not that they think Rubio is more susceptible to change. But that viewer does raise a really good point. Continuing. Good morning, Frank. Steve here. Hey, Steve. This is what happens when you let people from the South make decisions about stuff that happens in the North. You want to talk about being absolutely positively clueless. NASCAR never should have attempted to have the race this weekend. And he sent me an announcement that he got on his phone. Due to heavy overnight rains, the staging lot is too muddy to park in. Haulers entering gate 2, main gate, and security will escort you to another area to stage. Do not enter Seagraves Road. There you go. Thank you. Steve continues, if Corning Inc. pulls out of Corning, what does this mean? Hey, Brady thought it was bad in this area to begin with. I think that was just a typo. But hey, you thought it was bad in this area to begin with. Have absolutely no idea how much of a ghost town everything here around here will become. Things will end up closing up so fast, and then who are we going to blame? Good job, Democrats. Yeah, I mean, the blame does go on Democrats and the decisions coming from Hochul and Albany. If you're wondering what that's in relationship to, if you did not hear, NVIDIA invested up to $3.2 billion in Corning Inc. They're going to build 3 factories in North Carolina and Texas, not here in Corning or anywhere in New York State, not in the surrounding areas. So that when news like that breaks, it's great news for those in the area that have worked for Corning or maybe just invested in Corning and have those stocks. It's great from that aspect. But to Steve's point, if they pull out, it's a ghost town. We all know that. We all know what it would do to not just Corning. You know, I think that's something that's important. People think, well, Corning, Market Street will be done. It would be so far in the surrounding areas, it would be shocking. And I think if that were to happen, I hope it's not, but if that were, and I don't think it will. Let's be positive here. Let's think positive. But if it were to happen, yeah, it would be the end of our area as anything kind of significance. So do appreciate that. Love to hear your thoughts on it. I keep running late, but I love these comments coming in, so I don't mind. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Every year, millions fly with us at Allegiant because together, we go places. We see old friends and try new things. We laugh. We really like to laugh. And reconnect. We remember, and we wander, which leads to wonder. From how we go, to where we go, to what we do when we get there, we go further, together.
Glassfest Rock the Park, presented by Simmons Rockwell. Saturday, May 23rd is Tracy's A Taylor Experience.
Welcome to our tribute to the Eras Tour.
Free and open to the public. Brought to you by Simmons Rockwell.
Down and play, I'll write your name.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Yay! Become a wishmaker today and be part of a journey that
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Are we having a blast this morning or what? My goodness, let's keep going with viewer comments. I think the Twin Tiers sure could use a shot in the arm that Corning could have provided with the NVIDIA deal. $3.2 billion, by the way. Instead, they're leaving the state. I guess it's in spite of their position politically, which we all know what it is they're listening to, our governor, who, just like her predecessor, has told us to leave. Well, Corning listened, and they are on the backbone of Corning. It's sad to see what's happening. Well, what is interesting to me, though, if we want to talk political, I don't know, well, at least in the past, Corning Inc. has seemed very receptive of the Hillary Clintons coming to the as senator. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember them being a part of these certain events that seem to be, let's just say, Democrat politicians. So it's interesting now that they're going to places like North Carolina and Texas to save money from the policies of the Democrats in Albany. Yeah, it is the backbone of Corning, but it's really the backbone of the Southern tier. But yeah, the governor said leave. You've got a new mindset that says we want to tax the wealthy. We don't care about big business. Mamdani's driving out business left and right. So honestly, it doesn't come as a surprise. If I could have started the program this morning and said, guess what, they're building factories here, I think we all would have been shocked. That's sadly how beaten down we are as New Yorkers, right? Ken writes in, it's interesting that Corning has a factory in Big Flats that is currently closed. Oh, that is a good point, Ken. Very good point. Comment from a different viewer. I was there when they burned the bus. Oh, we're talking about the bog at Watkins Glen. The Brazilians came down, tried to get their luggage out from underneath the bus, and they started pelting them with bottles and rocks. And this viewer wants to make it very clear. I did not participate in that. I was an observer. Thank you. Thank you for the disclaimer. Did they, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they ever caught the person, right? Wasn't that or the persons who actually started the bus on fire, the Greyhound? I don't think they ever caught him. They also continue on a completely different topic. Why would anybody build a factory in New York State these days? Well, that's the point. That's what I'm saying. And I know I beat you to the punch on that. If I would have went on this morning and said that NVIDIA invested $3.2 billion in Corning and they're building factories here in the surrounding area or in Corning or wherever, you would have been more shocked probably by that. Well, definitely by that. A lot more shocked than me saying they're building in Texas and North Carolina. We are not only are we not on the short list of having a factory here, I'm sure we're not even on the list. We're not even considered. New York is probably, I don't even want to say 50th out of 50 because we're not even on the list. They take those last extreme blue states and they just throw them on and not even considering it. I don't even think it was ever a consideration that New York would be a part of that investment. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not surprising. Going back to the point I'm making, we're just so beaten down in New York, we're used to it. That, yep, here we are. Another day in the life of a New Yorker. Okay, I don't have time, and I'm not complaining. But we'll go through a couple quick headlines, and then I got to tell you something about that Primal Jayapal. Okay, U.S. and Iran are closing in on a one-page memo to end the war, according to officials telling Axios, so take it with a grain of salt. Democrat Representative Seth Moulton said in a giddy fashion, we're certainly losing in Iran right now. I'm sorry, but this excited attitude of us losing, where the New York Times reporter or journalist, quote unquote journalist, said that they don't want to see Trump or that the U.S. win in Iran because it would benefit Trump politically. It's sick. Hugh Hewitt, which sometimes spot on, sometimes not, but he said Trump should demand a clear victory over Iran and reject any weak compromises. I don't believe anything, but worry about everything. Iran is finally cornered and desperate. Let's pray that President Trump finishes off this radical regime and goes down in history as the president who brought stability to the Middle East. Also, China says that ties with the U.S. remain stable ahead of Trump's visit, despite what they call disruptions. Okay, last break of this hour. Get your last comments on. I love it. Tell us your stories about Watkins Glen. Tell me what you think about Corning, investing in North Carolina and Texas, and all the other topics we've discussed. Stay with us.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Don't forget our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We are looking at some sunshine for today. Temperatures staying near 10 degrees below average with a high of 57. Then cool tonight, mid-30s. In fact, patches of frost are a possibility. For our Friday, areas of showers with topping off in upper 50s. By the weekend, additional rain chances, especially looking into Mother's Day, at which time highs will be in the upper 60s.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comments from viewers. They made some arrests. This is in reference to the bus being burnt, the Greyhound at the bog many years ago in Watkins Glen. But I don't think they got the perpetrator of the bus theft. The arrests were unrelated. Yes, okay, I couldn't remember the specifics. Yeah, it was more about kind of being a menace and things like that, but they never got the person who originally hijacked the bus, so to speak, and drove it into the bog. Thank you for clarifying that. Comment from a different viewer. If Corning and NASCAR were to leave the area, we still have Frank, the envy of New York State. Oh boy, a lot of people just shed a tear. If it weren't bad enough that we lost Corning and NASCAR, now you're stuck with me. That's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but I appreciate the very kind words. Thank you very much. We really don't have time to get into this, but I want to tell you this. A Democrat lawmaker, I think officially a member of the squad, Pramelia Jayapal, drawing backlash. She said that she spoke with foreign ambassadors about getting oil to Cuba despite U.S. sanctions, defending the outreach as, quote, literally our right and responsibility. Quote, I was in conversations with the ambassadors from Mexico and some other places, trying to figure out how to get oil there. Calling the situation on the island a crisis beyond imagination. Imagine that. Going around foreign and international policy. Jayapal said the event was part of a broader briefing on the humanitarian situation in Cuba. Quote, as many of you know, I traveled to Cuba as part of a congressional delegation last month. It is part of my role to see how U.S. foreign policy is actually affecting the people in the countries where the policy is being implemented. She said she met with the Cuban president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, a senior government official, political dissidents, civil society groups. Yeah, I bet you she met with a lot of political dissidents. Yeah, I'm sure the president welcomed them in and said, hey, I want you after this to meet with the dissidents and foreign diplomats during the trip. Video of the remarks circulated widely on X where users criticized her comments and even talked about the legal concerns. They claimed that she was conspiring against the U.S. and suggested her actions could constitute a federal felony. The libs of TikTok actually wrote, seems a little treasonous to me. Social media users also pointed to potential legal implications. Quote, traitor, she should be prosecuted. Now, those claims are political commentary and have not been independently verified, and no investigation or charges have been publicly announced. Wow. Admitting that, and proudly admitting that. Representative Pramil Jayapal admitting to working with Mexico to sneak oil into Cuba despite the blockade. That is the left we're dealing with, the same left that seems to be in their interviews giddy when they think that we're quote unquote losing in Iran. I don't accept their premise, but that's how they're presenting it. That, oh, this was bad for us. This was bad for us. Let me get on CNBC or MSN Now or whatever it's called. Let me talk about how bad, because again, they see it as a negative towards Trump coming in the midterms. They don't care if America loses in Iran. Think about that, the extreme nature of that. All they care about is the midterms and their own political power. That speaks volumes. In this case, going around international policy to try to sneak oil into Cuba from Mexico, that's one representative. And think of the power that even one representative has. I think that is the Democrat Party in a nutshell. Okay. Aaron Blake from CNN says the GOP has an enthusiasm problem. So as we go into hour number 2, do you believe the Republicans have an enthusiasm problem as we enter the midterms? Stay with us. Hour number 2 coming up next.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Get ready. Glass Fest, May 22nd through 24th. Brought to you by Chemung Canal Trust. Experience the magic of live glass blowing. From hands-on fun to incredible sights, there's something for everyone. Explore creations from local artisans. 3 days, one incredible celebration. Brought to you by Corning's Gaffer District. On Friday night, it's Drake White with John King opening. On Saturday, Tracy's A Taylor Experience. Join us for Glass Fest. Brought to you by Simmons Rockwell.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
Reading all these great comments. Lost track of time. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. It's hour number 2, and we do appreciate you joining us. So do you think the GOP has an enthusiasm problem? Now, if you're not enthusiastic about voting in the midterm, just keep in mind what the next 2 years would look like. As yesterday on MSN Now or MS Now's Deadline program, Representative Dan Goldman, right here from the state of New York, said, well, what I'm optimistic about is if we take back the majority, and people like Jamie Raskins and I will be leading investigations into Trump's corruption, into all the cabinet officials and this gross abuse of power, and we will get to the bottom of a lot of it, and we will reveal it, and it will become transparent. I think part of what people seem to think they give him a pass is because he does it all out in the open. Well, there's a lot he does not do in the open, and when that comes out, it's going to be very bad for him, very bad for Republicans. So keep that in mind as we near the midterms. Okay. Comment from viewers. Good morning, Frank. The only way for upstate New York to get positive changes is to push the city out of political power. This state would be bright red if not for the city. And that's a very good point. Absolutely. It would be a conservative state. You're right, for not the city. Comment from a different viewer. Corning has to go to the Republican state to get an intelligent workforce, not a woke workforce. Thank you very much. And if you haven't heard the news yet this morning, we brought it to you at the 6 o'clock hour, but NVIDIA is investing up to $3.2 billion in Corning Incorporated as part of a massive optical fiber deal with 3 new factories focused on AI. Those 3 factories, Texas and North Carolina. Okay. We have so much to get to. Oh, also in this, I want to get to New York State issues, if you don't mind, if I jump ahead here to New York State issues. But don't forget, coming up here in about 15, 20 minutes, we're going to talk with Chris Malpas of the Malpas Brothers. They have a new gospel album out. I know you're not going to want to miss this. We had fun talking with Chris probably a couple months ago. He's going to join us again. His brother Tyler, who we have not had on the program yet, he'll be joining us next week. And for those of you, and I know we have a big audience who loves that classic country sound, they are classic country. All the way from the look to the sound. Okay, the state budget deal has stalled in Albany. Sources told Spectrum that Hochul and her staff were preparing Tuesday and Wednesday for a possible announcement yesterday evening, but they ultimately pulled the plug around 5 p.m. The back and forth came after a handshake deal appeared within reach Tuesday afternoon before falling apart Tuesday evening, then potentially coming back together Wednesday afternoon and ultimately being pushed possibly to sometime today. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins and Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie were once again meeting with Hochul as of around 6 p.m. A cart stacked high with pizza boxes was seen being rolled into the governor's office suite on the second floor of the Capitol as staffers came and went, a sign of a long night ahead. Stewart-Cousins told reporters that Hochul and legislative leaders had largely buttoned down the 4 major policy issues, saying, quote, "We are, I would say, pretty much having conceptual agreements on the governor's 4 major policy proposals. I think we are really close to the beginning of the end. It was ultimately determined that too many major issues remain unresolved for a handshake deal, including how the second house tax in New York City will function and how much money the struggling city will receive, how much assistance upstate municipalities will get amid a surprisingly robust push by State Senator Pat Fahey to expand the tax upstate, and what reforms will or won't be made to the state's Tier 6 pension system. Other money issues, including education and healthcare spending, which make up massive portions of the total spending plan, remain open and unsettled. It is customary under Hochul for a conceptual agreement on the major policy questions to be announced, only for budget negotiations around other issues to continue for days before budget bills come to the Senate and Assembly floors for a vote." So there we are. Now let's do a positive story coming out of New York, and then we're going to get into the negatives, okay? Is that a fair trade-off? We also have some other issues that we need to get to as well this morning. We can talk about this narrative, and CNN kind of put it perfectly in a bad way. The efforts to game the 2026 election intensifies as Republicans draw new maps. So it's Republicans. It hasn't been, first of all, the funny part is the blue states were already gerrymandered before all this happened. Democrats have a history of gerrymandering. So that made it more difficult for them. But don't you remember the celebration of Hakeem Jeffries? They said he finally did it. Before the Supreme Court decision came down, he finally did it. He finally got a victory, and that was gerrymandering to prove that they are fighting for democracy by disenfranchising voters with their gerrymandering. So now, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's time for, after the Supreme Court decision, Republicans are starting to look at maybe some scenarios where they can gain some seats. You may not like gerrymandering, but I guess that's the name of the game at this point. And the sad point is the Democrats have been doing it forever. Now they're trying to blame Republicans for it as if it's a new thing, as if Democrats are clean as a fresh-driven snow. So we can talk about that if you'd like. But let's talk about a positive New York story. Our Senator Tom O'Mara, had an amazing little ceremony, and they do such great work. In the Women of Distinction Awards, Heather Perkins, the Chief Operation Officer at the Ark of Allegheny Steuben, received, and congratulations to her, the awards. We have a couple photos here to show you. That is the award. A resident of Andover in Allegheny County, Perkins began her career with Allegheny Ark in 2003 as a Medicaid service coordinator and advanced throughout various positions, including behavior technician, specialist and director of behavioral services. O'Mara said, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to recognize and pay tribute to Heather's leadership, compassion, commitment, and countless contributions to the excellence, quality, and strength of the ARC Allegheny Steuben, as well as her home community of Andover, where she and her family exhibit an admirable and deep sense of citizenship, pride, and support. Her dedication to service in her career and her many volunteer contributions to her community is a shining example of the devotion and effort that makes all the difference for the success of every local community. Heather's leadership and advocacy have long made a difference in countless lives and truly defines what it means to be, quote, a woman of distinction. I'm proud on behalf of our entire 58th Senate District to extend this well-deserved and well-earned tribute of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for all the great work they do at Allegheny, Steuben, ARC. We congratulate her. So there, I wanted to start on a more positive note. But then, Senator O'Mara, later in the day, listen to this. Democrats on the State Senate Energy Committee yesterday blocked six pieces of legislation from advancing through the legislative process that would provide immediate relief to New York State ratepayers continuing to face skyrocketing utility costs. Among the measures Democrats stopped from moving to a vote by the full Senate was a piece of legislation known as the Ratepayer Disclosure and Transparency Act, sponsored by Senator Tom O'Mara, that, if enacted, would for the first time give ratepayers a transparent view of how monthly state-imposed surcharges on their utility bills are being used to fund various clean energy programs, including initiatives mandated after the CLCPA. O'Mara, a member of the Senate Energy and Telecommunications Committee, said New York State is spending billions of dollars delivered into state and utility coffers from various state-imposed monthly surcharges as ratepayers. Albany Democrats have pushed forward with a misguided climate agenda without providing any meaningful cost-benefit analysis and by keeping ratepayers in the dark about how their money is being used. Ratepayers need relief now, but they also deserve to know everything about the burden they are shouldering. The Ratepayer Disclosure and Transparency Act I'm sponsoring would give ratepayer a clear view. It would require utility companies to provide a detailed breakdown of the costs associated with state-mandated programs by adding a line-item expense report to ratepayers' utility bills to ensure greater transparency and to ensure that ratepayers can see exactly how their payments go towards funding the Albany Democrat climate agenda. The Senate Republican Conference has repeatedly offered alternative plans and proposals that we believe are more focused on affordability. Did I say the Senate Republican Conference has repeatedly offered alternative plans and proposals that we believe are more focused on affordability, feasibility, and reliability, and which, if enacted, would better protect ratepayers from the ever-rising costs they're struggling under now. New York's ratepayers need relief and transparency now, and Albany Democrats keep saying no. The additional measures, get this, the additional measures rejected by the Senate Democrats was to repeal certain provisions of the energy law and the executive law in relation to the prohibition of fossil fuel equipment and building systems in new buildings. Number 2, to establish the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act Cost Task Force. 3, to amend the Public Service Law to establish limits on surcharge increases, direct a study of the costs associated with recent environmental and energy-related laws, and the value of stranded utility assets resulting in discontinuance or abandonment of utility gas infrastructure, and impose a moratorium on new energy taxes, fees, and regulations. And next, to prohibit the imposition of a system benefits charge on ratepayers' utility bills. Next, to prohibit the construction and maintenance of certain energy storage systems within 500 feet of school or dwellings in a city with a population of 1 million or more. So they're fighting, the Republicans fighting in Albany, but again, blocked by the one-party rule in Albany, trying to save you money on your utilities. And to piggyback off of that is an update, and we didn't predict it, but I think we all knew it in our heart. Senate Democrats blocked a bill that would have repealed New York's electric school bus mandate. The bill, which was introduced by Republican State Senator George Borrello, it would have replaced the mandate with a pilot program to evaluate performance across the state. Under the current mandate, New York schools must stop buying new diesel buses next year. The state requires a full transition to electric buses by 2035 before the state itself has to comply with electric vehicles. So that bill was blocked again by the one-party rule in Albany. Okay, we got a couple other things. We're jumping around a lot this morning. As I said, we're going to be hearing from Chris Malpas in a little bit. Don't forget, on tomorrow's broadcast, we're really excited about this, and I'd ask you to get your questions in ahead of time for both guests, if you don't mind. But candidate for New York State Comptroller on the Republican ticket, Mr. Joseph Hernandez, will be joining us right at the end of the 6 o'clock hour. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with a former congressman, current assemblyman, current chair of the I just gave him a raise, of the Steuben County Republican Committee. Joe Sempolinski will be our guest on tomorrow's broadcast. I know he's a fan favorite. I put this out because I just have a second. We will be highlighting a lot of the candidates, and we've already started, whether it's with the primaries coming up on June 23rd or whether it is the general election in November. So if you are running for office, you know someone that's running for office, you have someone you'd like me to try to reach out to, which is always a little more difficult, but try to reach out to have on the program. I would love to hear from you because we want to be your home for where you learn about your candidates, so you're not going in blind and just voting based on names. So you're not just saying, well, that sounds like a nice name, or hey, I went to school with his kid, I'll vote for him. We don't want it to be like that. We want you to know, and I know this audience is great at that, but know who you're voting for and why you're voting for them. So it's not a world's greatest mayor, Tiffany Henyard situation, where it's actually someone that you can proudly go in and say that you voted for them because you know their background, you know their beliefs. So if you want, or if you want to sign somebody up, or you want to sign up, you see that number on the bottom of the screen. I'd love to hear from you. All right, again, the big question this morning, having the conversation, well, a couple things. Watkins Glen International, of course, the talk of the town with all the rain and the issue with RVs getting into their campsites. But we also have been talking about the $3.2 billion investment into Corning Inc. by NVIDIA. But those factories, the $3.2 billion going to factories not here in our area, but North Carolina and Texas. Your thoughts on that? Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Glass Back the Park, presented by Simmons Rockwell. Friday, May 22nd, it's award-winning country music powerhouse Drake White with soulful country entertainer John King opening. Friday, May 22nd in Riverfront Centennial Park in Corning. Free and open to the public. Brought to you by Simmons Rockwell.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We are looking at some sunshine for today. Temperatures staying near 10 degrees below average with a high of 57. Then cool tonight, mid-30s. In fact, patches of frost are a possibility. For our Friday, areas of showers with topping off in upper 50s. By the weekend, additional rain chances, especially looking into Mother's Day, at which time highs will be in the upper 60s.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and we're having so much fun this morning. I'm glad that you've joined us. Let's go to some viewer comments. Mark writes, if that second house tax trickles all over the state, which there is serious talks about that right now, that it's not just going to be in the city, that it is going to be in upstate as well. Think of the effect on people who have houses and cottages on the many lakes and people who have rental property. Terrible idea. and more people will leave New York State. You're exactly right, Mark, and that's one of the major criticisms. Some of these people that have these grandiose houses like Lake George and around here locally in the Finger Lakes, that they rent them out throughout the year, and guess what? Or throughout the summer, and they're paying the property taxes, they're paying the school taxes, and not using those services. So it's a tax the quote-unquote rich. And it'll get people to leave in droves, and let's face it, it's a part of the decision, and not just that, but just the mindset coming out of Albany, which is to tax the rich, to go after businesses, to go after the quote-unquote wealthy. It's one of the reasons why the factories for Corning Inc., with that huge investment coming in, are going to North Carolina and Texas and not right here in the southern tier. Comment from a different viewer: who could blame any business for building elsewhere? I wouldn't even consider New York State, as it is not business friendly. Yeah, I don't think New York State is even on the list. I mean, you can try to rank us and say, well, 49 out of 50th or 50 out of 50. I think at that point there's a handful of far left states where they're not even in consideration. So you can rank them all you want. We're not even on that list. Not the short list. We're not even on the list whatsoever. Never once were we a consideration. Now your point. Yesterday we talked about Bruce Blakeman. I wanted to mention this quickly. This coming from where was it? I'm not going to remember now. Originally from the Empire Report, but it was linked to somewhere. And it said, presuming anything from poll results 6 months before an election can make for some perishable messaging. On April 14th, President Trump crowed on social media Bruce Blakeman, the highly respected and very popular Nassau County executive who is running for governor, is surging in the New York State polls. He is one of the best politicians in the U.S. Watch him work his magic. But Tuesday, the Siena Research Institute released new polling data that showed Blakeman's early modest rise against Governor Hochul in the state had slipped. Hochul's lead over Blakeman showed a 3-point growth since the Institute's previous tabulations on the race last month, with the incumbent now leading her GOP challenger, so Hochul leading Blakeman 49% to 33%. This occurred even as Hochul's favorability and approval ratings dropped 8 points. These are partisan-shaped results. Blakeman, for now, is showing support from 3/4 of the Republicans polled, with Hochul getting 3/4 of Democrats responding in her favor. But what may be the biggest hill for Blakeman's campaign to climb shows up in results for the suburbs, including his home turf on Long Island, where Blakeman must succeed to win in November. In the New York City suburbs, Hochul led 43% to 39%. Overall, 17% of those polled had a favorable view of Blakeman, 19% unfavorable, and get this is the troubling point. A whopping 64% said they didn't know enough or couldn't say. To become familiar face statewide, Blakeman will need money. He is reportedly nearly $20 million behind Hochul in fundraising, and so political observers expected fundraising to be a topic in his meeting in Washington with President Trump. Blakeman could use financial help, especially after the state's Public Campaign Finance Board rejected his application for matching funds over a technical error in his filing. That is downplayed by this piece. That was a complete partisan decision. He did not fill out a piece of paper or a document that did not exist. That document did not exist. And because he didn't fill it out, they took away his matching funds. You may hate matching funds. I think a lot of us do, but that's the rules of the game. So he had to take them. And they, in a partisan way, remember, matching funds were designed so that the little guy could defeat the big bad incumbent. Well, what is this? The little guy challenges the incumbent, and because the incumbent has a D next to their name and the little guy has an R next to his name, no more matching funds. It goes to show you that that was a mess to begin with. He and GOP lawyers are fighting that ruling in court in Albany, where an outcome is expected soon. Surely the president can provide campaign funds for Blakeman if he so chooses, but the new Siena poll suggests that in New York, in the months ahead, the county executive's adherence to Trump could prove more of an anchor than a pair of wings. I don't accept that. And they go through some more polling that shows that it's going to be bad because he's supported by Trump. What else has he got? If he tries to go moderate, that's the end. But the campaign had a whole different dynamic than Lee Zeldin. It brought midterm blowback against President Biden. The House flipped back to Republican. With the political winds reversed, Blakeman is expected to face a rockier path to the executive mansion than Zeldin, the congressman who came unexpectedly close to beating Hochul, yet the tickets are still filling out. Primaries and other races don't come until next month. World events are volatile, and it's still too early to take any polling numbers to the bank or even to the predictions markets, if you prudent. All right, we got a lot more to cover this morning. And in just a little bit, we're going to be hearing from Chris Malpas of the Malpas Brothers. So you don't want to miss that. Again, the big topic this morning, NVIDIA, I think I'm saying that right. NVIDIA investing up to $3.2 billion in Corning Inc. and the 3,000 jobs and the three factories, so 1,000-person factory, 3 factories going to North Carolina and Texas. Not here in the southern tier. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Digio is the fastest growing form of advertising today. And with hyper-targeting, your marketing dollars can be more efficient than ever. Join WYDC and New Logic Marketing for a digital video strategy seminar May 19th and 20th with sessions from 8 to 9 a.m. and 12 to 1 p.m. at the Radisson in Corning. You'll learn what drives results and how to make video a powerful part of your overall marketing strategy. Join us May 19th for an expert look at digital video and learn what works from experts who understand why.
Mess is so uplifting. You see how the community rallies around us saying, we're going to fight this thing with you, no matter how long it takes or what it takes.
I love the energy at Walk MS. It is community, it is family. I can ride that high for the rest of the year.
A cure is on the line for me.
A cure is on the line for all of us.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Some comments from viewers, and I realize I'm running late, so we're going to be going to Chris Malpas here in just a moment. Comment from a viewer: Corning Inc. has certainly been a powerhouse for the community, but they're not exactly as pure as the wind-driven snow. I've seen careers of family and friends yanked from under them several times, basically overnight. Any company will go where the grass is greener every time. At least they're expanding in areas where the red voting bloc makes a difference. Good point. Thank you very much. Comment from Ken: I guess you could call it an enthusiasm problem. I think New York Republicans think their efforts to vote in better governance are hopeless, so they waste their time trying. So why waste your time trying? Excuse me. It's a heavy lift to overcome the liberal votes in New York City and other major cities in New York. Those voters or people they know depend on social programs and other people's money. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that many of us are jaded by New York State politics. I would agree with that completely, Ken. Comment from a different viewer: here's a rub about Corning not building here. The management is partial to Democrats. This speaks volumes. Yeah, that is interesting when you see it, and this is not speaking out of school. They had fundraisers in the past for Hillary and things like that. And then they go to states where it's red and leave the states that are blue for business. I know. That's one of the frustrations. Comment from a different viewer: to add salt to the wound of the unemployed American worker, I wonder how many undocumented newcomers, aka illegal aliens, will be filling those jobs in Texas and North Carolina. I've never heard that about Corning, but just in general, I've never heard that about Corning whatsoever. Comment, okay, that looks like more of a new article. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer: hi, Frank. What do you think the DOJ can look into New York State actually tampering with funds that were designated? Doesn't it make sense that they can step in and find out why New York is able to create something that never existed in order to hurt and affect an upcoming election? There has to be something that could be done for a federal. There's got to be something that could be done from a federal level. Well, I know fraud-wise, if that's what you're speaking to, I know J.D. Vance is working on that fraud, and I know Dr. Oz had talked about it here with Medicare. But in general, they've had their wrist slapped before about making decisions that disenfranchise voters during elections, and nothing came of it. And finally, Ken said, I see the diehard fans have found a way to go to their campsites, and it shows campers being dragged by a monster truck. Thank you, Ken. Yeah, love to talk more about Watkins Glen, more about Corning. We're having a live and local discussion this morning. I appreciate it. Final comment before we take a break and go to Chris Malpas. So the Malpas brothers. Republicans need to realize in New York State there's a lot of Democrats who would vote for a Republican candidate if the Republicans would get behind somebody with real force. We're fed up with the baloney, too. That's a good point. I mean, I've talked to Democrats that aren't necessarily happy with Hochul, but have we offered them an alternative that looks like they could be a powerhouse? I think Lee Zeldin was one of those people, and he made great momentum. He made great strides, but still had a way to go. So thank you for all those comments. Keep them coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
They say when you love doing something, it stops being a chore. Ferris mowers with patented front and rear suspension are designed to turn hard work into an easy ride, no matter how rough the terrain. Quality cut, less fatigue, more control. Feels like the grass can't grow fast enough. Feels like a Ferris.
Maxey is a veteran. He was a combat medic in the Army.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
There's been a lot of wear and tear on his body.
My knees are bone on bone from doing all those jumps and lugging my backpack and all that gear around. I was also exposed to toxins.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans like Yusuf, helping them get the benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories, great and small.
Now Yusuf is paying it forward. DAV has been instrumental in helping him start 2 healthcare technology companies that are working to help veterans everywhere.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We are looking at some sunshine for today. Temperatures staying near 10 degrees below average with a high of 57. Then cool tonight, mid-30s. In fact, patches of frost are a possibility. For our Friday, areas of showers with topping off in upper 50s. By the weekend, additional rain chances, especially looking into Mother's Day, at which time highs will be in the upper 60s, looking to be.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio and returning to that studio, Chris Malpas. Thanks so much for joining us again.
Hey, buddy. I'm glad to do it. How are you doing today?
Good. First of all, congratulations. Inducted into the North American Country Music Association International Hall of Fame.
Well, you know, we didn't feel worthy of it, but it sure was an honor, and it was a cool experience for us.
That award must be huge because that's the biggest name of a Hall of Fame I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that award's about 7 foot tall.
Well, you're very busy, and we're going to talk about your new upcoming gospel album. But first, how did you find the time to join us? First of all, you're obviously in the shop, and you've got Malpas Fest coming up.
Well, we were gone about 5 days, and I got home Sunday night, and I've had 2 days home here, and so when I'm home, I try to come in the shop and catch up a few things. But we leave tomorrow to get ready for our festival in Denton, North Carolina, and that's a big time. And man, we're on the road right steady, so it's been crazy busy. Getting ready to start our 4th season of the TV show. Yeah. Our single just dropped. It's been crazy.
I know.
I'm all over the place.
I know. I don't know how you found the time. Just looking at your tour schedule is almost like overwhelming for me.
You know, it does. It overwhelms me sometimes when I look at it. So I just try to take it one day at a time.
Keep your head down. But so let's talk about well, first of all, the single's out now, Satisfied. But tell us about Country Gospel Classic, this new album. It sounds fantastic. I've got the track list here. How did this all come about?
Well, Taylor and I grew up doing a lot of churches, you know, got traditional gospel music. We do a lot of Hank Williams gospel, Merle Haggard gospel, Louvin Brothers gospel. So we had talked about doing a new gospel project, you know, at this point in our career. And Ben Isaacs approached us about going with Gaither Records and doing this gospel project. And man, we were thrilled to get, because it was weird because we were already talking about wanting to do one, and it's truly one of my favorite projects we've done. It was an easy project because we grew up loving this music, you know. So it was a great experience.
Well, I like that it's a live album and DVD, and I know it's going to be broadcast on numerous outlets where people can catch it as well. How did you pick the songs that went into it? Because obviously there's endless amounts that you could choose from.
Well, we kind of went back through, you know, the stuff we started doing as kids, you know, a lot of stuff that influenced us early on, and we had about 40 songs, and we had to condense it down, and each song that we picked was a song that we really felt strong about and felt some connections to. But it was definitely hard because there's so many great ones.
Well, and I mean, it's 20 tracks on already, so do you think you could come up with another one? Is there going to be a part 2?
Well, we've talked about doing that.
Yeah.
We sure have, and it would definitely be something we'd be interested in doing.
What's it like partnering with Gaither? I mean, that's got to be kind of an honor in and amongst itself.
Man, it is, and you know, it's kind of interesting because the RFD family and the Gaither family are a lot alike because they cross. You know, a lot of RFD crowd listens to Gaither, and a lot of the Gaither listen to RFD. So it was kind of it felt like home for us. But it was also an honor because we grew up listening to that. I mean, Bill Gaither's written some of your biggest hymns that's ever been published. So it was it was an honor for sure.
So look, I do have to ask this because you've got classics. Family Bible, Satisfied is out now. But then right at the last second, track 20, you got Ragged Old Flag. How'd that make the list?
Yeah. Well, Ben said, he said, do you have anything, you know, patriotic? And I said, well, man, you know, there's a lot of patriotic songs that have been done so many times, but I was a Johnny Cash nut.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cash did this song years ago, and I just fell in love with it because it truly speaks to everybody in America. I really feel like, and it's a recitation too, which is very old school. You don't hear many recitations anymore. So it was a song that I picked, and Ben fell in love with it, and I said, man, we got to include this. It's so us, you know, Johnny Cash recitation, traditional country deal. So I hope the folks like it.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't wait to hear that. Now, this is actually a live recording, right? So you did this all live. It's not a studio. What is that like, just recording it live? That's what you guys do every day.
You know what? I enjoy it. I enjoy doing studio work, but I enjoy this much more because you have that energy and emotion. You know, some of these songs, people were crying in on it. Some of them, they were clapping their hands. I mean, it brought back a lot of memories, and I believe doing it this way captured the emotion that was in the room way more than if you were just in a studio. You know, it was a truly an experience that I'm glad was documented on record. You know.
Did everybody attending know that they were going to be on a recorded album?
They did. We let folks know, and we could only have a certain amount. I can't remember how many it was. It was a pretty good sized crowd, but we let everyone know, you know, that it was going to be recorded. But I think when we all got in there, we kind of forgot it. It was like a church service. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and I love that we're all going to be able to watch on RFD and so many other outlets, because we've all seen those classics on RFD where you'll sit back, you didn't know it was going to be on, you turn it on, it's just something that moves you and blows you away. So I think it's great to be added to that list.
Well, we're super excited. I hope folks enjoy it. I'm really anxious for them to see it.
Yeah, and so I guess I was going to ask if it's interesting recording a DVD, but you're so used to doing the Malpas Brothers show that it's kind of second hand, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah, it was very comfortable. Ben Isaacs, we've worked with him a lot through the years. He kind of knows what we like, and we know kind of what he's expecting. It was a really easy experience, walking out on stage and with all our guys. We had some extra musicians on, and Janae Fleener and people like that we added to the mix, but it was kind of a real familiar setting.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like second nature, yeah.
Sure. And now tell us about season 3 of the Malpas Brothers show. This is kind of unique because it's essentially a concert. You're having a concert. You're just filming it. Is that right?
We are, and our show is, what we do is, of course, we have guests on it and all that good stuff, and our band backs the guests, but nothing is planned. We don't script anything, and we don't script the jokes or the interviews or anything. We just kind of like the old Porter Wagner show. It's kind of a film and roll.
Yeah.
And I think people like that because it's real. I mean, nothing's made up or doctored up. It's the real raw music.
And you have such amazing talent that plays with you. Is there anybody that you've been trying for that you haven't been able to get?
Man, I would love to have Bill Anderson on.
Well, Whispering Bill.
Bill Anderson wrote so many great songs, and he has agreed to do it if we can just make it work. Getting him. We film in Texas, and that's quite a trip from him from Nashville. But we're hoping he's one of my big dreams to get Bill Anderson on there. He's such a big influence to me.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his anniversary coming up on the Grand Ole Opry. That guy's still very busy.
Yeah, man. He's kind of, to me, like the father of country music. I mean, he's kind of the gatekeeper at the Opry. So him and Jeannie Seeley both were. They were like Mr. and Mrs. Country Music to me. So I would love. We had Miss Jeannie on there, and I'd love to have Mr. Bill as well.
I think he will. I think he'll make it work. And now this year, has there been a highlight? Because it's at Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Has there been a highlight this season for you?
You know what? Having Charlie Pride's son, Dion Pride, on was a highlight for me. I was a Charlie Pride fanatic, man. That's the first concert I ever saw as a kid, and instantly fell in love. My brother and I both did, and having Dion on there, he was such a good guy. That was truly one of the highlights. There, every show I say that, it's hard to pick one. Junior Brown was great, everybody, but it was cool to get to share that time and tell Dion just how much his daddy meant to us.
Yeah, I mean, I had the opportunity to see him a couple of years ago, and if you close your eyes, not even close your eyes when you look at him, it's kind of eerie.
It is kind of eerie.
Yeah.
It really is. He's a great guy, man. They're super people.
Yeah, heck of a guitar player, too, if I remember right. So before we go,
yes, sir.
I know you got a lot going. Obviously, you got a lot going on. I don't even think we've scratched the surface. What else should we promote while I've got you?
Well, I mean, folks check out our website, Malpas Brothers. We got a lot of tour dates, and we'd love folks to come out and they can go on our Facebook and follow us, and they'll be able to buy tickets to the taping. When we do that again, they can buy tickets to our show in Branson in October, or just come see us on the road. We're always touring.
We got to get you to come local. We got to get you to upstate New York.
We would love to come. Y'all, we would be honored to. It's beautiful up there.
It is. It is very beautiful. But can people, when the album comes out, Satisfied Country Gospel Classics Live, it comes out on June 26th. Can they go to your website, or is there a better place to get it?
You can, or you can go on to Gaither Music and be able to download it, or it'll be on all the streaming platforms, and we'll be letting all the folks know where it's at.
Great. And we're going to be talking to your brother next week.
So, good. Well, good.
So put in a good word for us, okay?
I will do it, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on, and we'll do this again soon, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
You too. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Our residents, this is something they love. They put themselves out there doing the show, walking the runway, walking the risers. Every penny we take in on our tickets, on our raffles, sponsorship tables, all goes to Mount House. We sold out in 2 weeks.
Get Red Glass Fest May 22nd through 24th. Brought to you by Chemung Canal Trust. Experience the magic of live glass blowing. From hands-on fun to incredible sights, there's something for everyone. Explore creations from local artisans. 3 days, one incredible celebration. Brought to you by Corning's Gaffer District. On Friday night, it's Drake White with John King opening. On Saturday, Tracy's A Taylor Experience. Join us for Glass Fest. Brought to you by Simmons Rockwell.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world.
We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to.
Yeah.
Right, Brad?
Exactly.
We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comments from viewers. New York State already has the STAR program. You get a discount on your primary residence, not on secondary properties like lake, rental, or vacation homes. Seems like New York State Democrats just want to get more from hardworking people who worked for and stayed here. Well, they're going to have to because there's such the mass exodus, but they're not going to cut back on services that are offered. So it's the people that stay that will continue to pay that burden. Now, we've also been talking this morning, NVIDIA investing up to $3.2 billion in Corning Incorporated as part of a massive optical fiber deal with 3 new factories focused on AI. Those factories will be built, and their 3,000 jobs will go to North Carolina and Texas. Okay, we've talked about, unfortunately, the anti-Semitism that has run amok, and we now learn from the Anti-Defamation League that anti-Semitic assaults have reached a record high in the United States last year. Physical assaults in the U.S. due to anti-Semitism reached record highs in 2025 and included the first fatalities from anti-Semitic attacks on American soil since 2022, according to the Anti-Defamation League's annual report. That is in regards to the 2 Israeli embassy staff members who were fatally shot last May outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., the first Jewish fatalities from anti-Semitic attacks since 2019. Anti-Semitic physical assaults increased by 4%, and assaults involving a deadly weapon went up by 39%. Now, in regards to that, Michael Rappaport, the actor who is at one time, I'm assuming he still is kind of a far-left supporter of the Democrat Party, but he says that Hochul should resign in shame over the anti-Israel protests at the historic New York City synagogue. We brought that story to you yesterday, where there was the attacks at the synagogue, at that house of worship. He slammed Hochul for dragging her feet on imposing a statewide mask ban in the wake of the anti-Israel protests at the synagogue. He reportedly, Rappaport, who is reportedly interested in running for mayor of New York City, condemned Tuesday night's clashes near Park East Synagogue that he described as the Halloween spring fling. And he shared some clips. Right now in New York City, lunatics dressed in Halloween costumes are outside of, you guessed it, a synagogue in New York City. Hochul, you've had 3 years to do a mask mandate and see if this stops the baloney, we'll say. You did nothing. Resign in shame. A lot of people are also blaming Zohran Mamdani, the New York Post editorial board, saying, don't call it a protest. It was a riot outside Park East Synagogue Tuesday as 100 violent thugs with those face masks tied around their face battled with the NYPD for hours. They claim to be protesting a meeting to promote the sale of West Bank land to Jews. In reality, it was purely about moving to Israel, with few brochures that had photos of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Despicably, Mayor Zoran Mamdani let the goons know he's on their side. His spokesman said the mayor was deeply opposed to the event promoting the sale of land in the West Bank, which is illegal under international law. That's two falsehoods, one about the event and one about international law, which says nothing about private land sales anywhere. As best we can tell, Mamdani's confusing international law with the century-old ravings of Amin al-Azhar, the Hitler-allied Grand Mutif of Jerusalem, appointed such by the British colonial overlords, whose 1935 fatwa declared the entire mandate of Palestine to be the eternal and inalienable property of Islam. Yes, our mayor is that ignorant or that phony, writes the New York Post editorial board. Fine, he waved the finger at the rioters while noting the importance of ensuring safe entry and exit from houses of worship, but he also stressed the need to ensure all protesters are able to exercise their First Amendment right. Guess he's ignorant of U.S. laws as well as international. The First Amendment does not, in fact, grant any right to fight police in the streets, let alone to assault a meeting because somebody told you it was about something you oppose. And that is similar to what we were talking about with Cornell, where the Cornell president bumped into those kids who were surrounding his car. There is a First Amendment right, of course, but not a First Amendment right to surround a car, beat on the windows, etc. In any case, the anti-Semitic mob came prepared for war. What would it have done had it broken through the police line? Disrupt the event, beat up the attendees, wreck the synagogue? By the way, the pro-Palestinian, as the media puts it, rioters make no real distinction between the West Bank and Israel proper. The real chant in the Arabic original is from the river to the sea, Palestine will be Arab. And that's also why they chant, we don't want no two states, we want 48, meaning all of Palestine before the UN partition. With the left fully embracing this delusional cause, violent anti-Semitic attacks are on the rise in America and around the world. New York City's mayor should warn the Hamas wing of the movement that peaceful protest, by definition, can't include fighting the cops or threatening any physical aggression. If he keeps cheering on these thugs, it won't change a thing in the Middle East, yet may well bring blood on the streets of his city. But maybe that's what Mamdani wants, argues the New York Post. Also, in line with that, Rutgers has axed a graduation speaker after they did a little research and found anti-Israel social media posts from that speaker. The move came after Rami Elgandor, CEO of biotech company Alsec, I don't know how you say it, and a university alumni, used this social media account to accuse Israel of committing war crimes and offer other anti-Israel message. The company is ARCELLX. CELX. Okay. Anyway, Elgandor also served as executive producer of a documentary about a young Palestinian girl who was killed by the Israeli Defense Forces. He was also slated to speak at the May 15th address at the School of Engineering before the decision was rescinded. All right, there's a couple of things. Oh, speaking of Mamdani, do I have a chance? Billionaire Ken Griffin has now scaled back New York City jobs in response to Mamdani's tax the rich antics. If you recall, Mamdani filmed a video outside of Ken Griffin's, I don't know what you call, apartment building, trying to talk about taxing the rich and how they should pay for a second house. So because of those, what they're calling antics, stoking fears that the well-to-do are starting to flee the socialist mayor and taking their cash with them. He said that the scaling back of jobs was a direct consequence of Mamdani's tax the rich push. Mamdani poked the bearish billionaire in a recent social post that used Griffin's record-breaking $238 million Midtown penthouse as a backdrop to drum up support for proposed tax on luxury second homes in the city. And appalled Griffin first threatened to scrap a $6 billion Park Avenue development from his Citadel hedge fund. And he said that it was creepy. The video spurred him to expand the firm's jobs in Florida. We will add far more jobs in Miami over the next decade as an immediate and direct consequence of the mayor's poor decision here with respect to posting of that video. And that's also the case for Wall Street giant Apollo, who aims to open a second headquarters outside New York City and the latest fallout from Mamdani's war on the rich. Private equity giant Apollo Global Management, headquartered in Manhattan, has decided to open a new business hub, internally dubbed its second headquarters in either Florida or Texas, with an official decision likely to be made public in the coming weeks, people close to the matter have said. All right, we got to take our last break of today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Get your last minute comments in. We've been talking a lot about Watkins Glen, talking a lot about Corning Incorporated. Keep them coming in, and we'll wrap it up after this.
What better way to start or end need every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub. Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We are looking at some sunshine for today. Temperatures staying near 10 degrees below average with a high of 57. Then cool tonight, mid-30s. In fact, patches of frost are a possibility. For our Friday, areas of showers with topping off in upper 50s. By the weekend, additional rain chances, especially looking into Mother's Day, at which time highs will be in the upper 60s. Looking to be
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. It was reported yesterday that Maine Senator Susan Collins has revealed that she has what is called essential tremor diagnosis, but has had absolutely no impact. Collins, who's 73, disclosed the condition, which causes visible shaking in her hands, head, and voice. This is the first time she admitted it, saying, "I have had it in the entire time that I served in the United States Senate. It has absolutely no impact on my ability to do my job or how I feel each day." Collins was first elected back in 1996. She said she never missed a Senate floor vote during her nearly 30 years in office, a streak approaching 10,000 consecutive votes, and pointing to the record as evidence she remains healthy enough to continue serving. Quote, "If you talk to anybody in Washington, they will tell you that I'm the hardest working person that they have ever worked with. And the fact is, I've never missed a single vote in all the time that I've been honored to represent the people of Maine." That is going to be an interesting race there with Collins. The Democrat challenger and left-wing populist Graham Plattner has faced questions about his health during the campaign as well. Okay. Oh, by the way, I missed this, and I just saw it this morning on, I think it was Empire Report. Did you see that Trump did it again and posted memes of top Democrats in sombreros for Cinco de Mayo? The fake image of Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York and Senator Chuck Schumer of New York was captioned, "Happy Cinco de Mayo to all who celebrate." That just about does it for today's edition. As I mentioned, efforts to game the 2026 election intensifies as Republicans draw new maps, according to Zachary Wolf, blaming it completely on Republicans. That is going to be interesting because just a week ago, they were celebrating what they called Hakeem Jeffries' huge victory. It's the first victory of his career with the redistricting before that Supreme Court decision came down. So I guess it just matters what the letter after the person's name is, or whether it's a threat to democracy or not. But Stacey Abrams said the Republicans, quote, "are intentionally eroding black voting power." There is a piece, and we're not going to have time to get to it, by Carrie Wachter at the New York Post. But if you have the opportunity, it says, "New York's education officials are waging war on parents, and we must fight back." You can find that for yourself at the New York Post. I know we're going to be talking about the upcoming school board vote, or school board and the budget votes, which are coming up very quickly. Also, as I mentioned earlier on the program, if you are so inclined, if you're running for office or you know somebody that is running for office and would like to be a guest on this program, please book that early. We start to book up very quickly as it nears primary day on June 23rd and as it nears general election day. So please, let's get those in the book. You can text that number on the bottom of the screen, or you can email Frank at WYDCTV.com, and we'll get that set in stone before we run out of time, because it's coming up quickly. Just a little over a month before the primaries, and there are quite a few primaries this year. One last thing, as we mentioned, if you are just joining us right at the end, NVIDIA invested up to $3.2 billion in Corning Inc. as part of a massive optical fiber deal with 3 new factories focused on AI, and that is going to North Carolina and Texas. All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. I got a little housekeeping here. We want to thank Chris Malpas for being our guest this morning on tomorrow's broadcast. And I ask that you get questions for these guests because I know you'll want to talk to each of them. Get them to us ahead of time if you don't mind. You can obviously comment live during the program, but if there's anything you really want to know from either of these gentlemen, please get them in to me earlier today just so we can compile them all. And that is number 1 in the 6 o'clock hour towards the end. Joseph Hernandez. He's running for New York State Comptroller. So New York State Comptroller candidate Joseph Hernandez will be joining us in the 6 o'clock hour. Then the 7 o'clock hour, former Congressman, current Assemblyman, current chair of the Steuben County Republican Committee, Joe Sempolinski, will be joining us again. That is in the 7 o'clock hour. We've got quite a lineup already for next week. We're filling up. So you'll want to tune in every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking. Only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.
Glass Fest Rock the Park, presented by Simmons Rockwell. Saturday, May 23rd is Tracy's A Taylor Experience.
Welcome to our tribute to the Eras Tour.
Free and open to the public. Brought to you by Simmons Rockwell.
Down and play, I'll write your name.
Digital is the fastest growing form of advertising today. And with hyper-targeting, your marketing dollars can be more efficient than ever. Join WYDC and New Logic Marketing for a digital video strategy seminar May 19th and 20th with sessions from 8 to 9 a.m. and 12 to 1 p.m. at the Radisson in Corning. You'll learn what drives results and how to make video a powerful part of your overall marketing strategy. Join us May 19th for an expert look at digital video and learn what works from experts who understand why.